Welcome to my channel, Historical Images, where I share rare and historic photos that changed the world. Here you will find incredible images that capture important moments in history, from major world events to intimate and personal moments.
You've probably heard the well-known expression that an image is worth more than 1,000 words, but the photos in this collection have much more to say than each of these images. It has a rich and unique story that takes us to different times and offers us a unique view of what life was like. With these photographs, we can explore and understand the past, which, although distant, still echoes in our present.
In the year 1966, the famous French stylist Yves Saint Laurent shocked the fashion world by creating a collection that offered the most masculine piece of the wardrobe, the smoking for women. As a result, models who wore turns were frequently discriminated against. In many cases, they were not allowed in certain places such as restaurants and clubs. In 1907, the professional swimmer, actress and Australian writer Annette Kellerman caused controversy by posing for a photo shoot. This was considered indecent by local authorities, who arrested and accused of improper behavior. During the 1920s in the United States, there was a special league composed of fervent moral defenders who fought against the use of turns considered indecent. Actress Lila Lee is seen in this photo wearing a traditional turn. In 1953, in West Berlin, a curious event caught the attention of those who attended the scene. A group of students who returned home by bicycle were forced to change clothes because the school they studied in had banned the use of tight pants, t-shirts and shorts. In the early 20th century, in 1906, an important social movement began in Great Britain, the feminine suffrage movement. This movement consisted of a group of women who fought for the right to vote and for equal rights for both civil and political men. BMG N. King is a professional tennis player who has a remarkable history of wins in the Wimbledon tournament. In addition to her ability in the court, she is remembered for her activism in favor of gender equality in tennis. Maria Teresa de Filippis is a renowned Italian motorist who won a place in history by becoming the first woman to compete in the top category of world motorsports, Formula One. In 1965, during the races held in Melbourne, an unusual and daring fact caught the attention of the guests. The English supermodel Jean Shipton appeared at the event wearing a suit considered scandalous for the time, a mini dress. Maud Wagner, considered the first known tattoo artist, left her mark on history by tattooing not only the bodies of other people, but also her own. At a time when the art of tattooing was still seen as something unusual and marginalized, Maud decided to cover her body with several tattoos. Jean Poiret was a famous French stylist who revolutionized women's fashion in the early 20th century. He became known for his innovative and creative approach, which freed women from the spurs. Shirley Slade was one of the about 1,000 pilots selected to join the group called Women's Air Force Service Pilots. During World War II, the iconic photo, when she was only 22 years old, shows Shirley with a determined look, wearing a helmet, glasses and pilot gloves, ready to take off on her plane. Senda Berenson was an American athlete, a pioneer and influential woman, credited as the founder of women's basketball. Berenson modified the rules of existing male basketball, created in 1891, to accommodate the physical differences and abilities of women. Ed Lamar is recognized as an American actress and inventor who challenged stereotypes in relation to female beauty and scientific skills. She developed a revolutionary invention, which contributed significantly to the evolution of modern cell phone communication. In the city of Chicago, in 1922, a woman was arrested for using a swimsuit that left her legs showing. The act of wearing such a piece was considered a violation of the moral and good customs of the time. Elizabeth Eckford stood out as one of the African American students who led the movement of racial integration in schools in the United States. In 1957, she became one of the first black students to attend classes in a school formerly exclusive to whites. The image captures a scene from the 80s, with girls wearing school uniforms and haircuts characteristic of the time, and the subway seats look very different from those we see today. It is interesting to note how culture and style have changed over the years in the city that never sleeps. This photo was taken on a beach in Iran a few months before the Islamic Revolution of 1979. In the image, we see women enjoying the sun and the water, wearing bathing suits that today would be considered inappropriate or even prohibited due to the restrictions imposed by the Islamic religion. This photo shows him, a telephone operator and telephone table, who was also an American native. In Montana in 1925 at the time, telephone operators were responsible for connecting calls manually. Leola King made history in 1918 as the first woman to work as a traffic guard, opening the way for female participation in a profession that was previously exclusively male. This image shows an ad in the city of New York, probably in the 1940s, encouraging people to skate to work as a way to save gas during the war. We have reached the end of our video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any news. Like and share our video. The image depicts a young woman welding in an armament factory during World War II. At the time, women were encouraged to enter the labor market to support the war and fill the gaps left by men who went to the battlefield. The photo shows an ordinary woman celebrating her birthday in 1973 in Iran, wearing clothes that were common at the time. However, after the Islamic Revolution of 1979, many of these clothes were considered indecent and prohibited by the new Islamic government. In California in 1947, a group of women belonging to the Organization of Women for War Against Styles held a demonstration in front of a clothing store in protest against the popularization of longer skirts and padded jackets in women's fashion. In 1956 in Alabama, Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give up her seat on a bus to a white passenger and sit in the back of the vehicle. Her arrest provoked a historic movement for civil rights. Mary Kwan is a renowned British designer who stood out in fashion by creating a revolution in the way women dress. She introduced the miniskirt, a short-sleeve piece of clothing that became the symbol of fashion in the 1960s. Susan Carey is an iconic woman whose contributions to the computer industry are still little known. She stood out in the 1980s as a renowned artist who designed several fonts, logos, icons, and images for companies like Apple, Next, Microsoft, and IBM. These two girls wore miniskirts in the city of Cabo in 1965, drawing everyone's attention on the street for contrasting with the longest traditional clothes used at that time. In 1967, a historic event occurred at the Boston Marathon, the participation of a woman for the first time in the competition. That year, women were not yet officially allowed to participate in the marathon. This photograph recorded the moment when one of the organizers tried to remove her from the force of the race.
If you're right on the channel, leave your like and don't forget to turn on the notification bell to receive my videos.